There is a line of ants climbing the stems of your rose bush right now, and most people reach for a spray can the moment they see it. The buds look swollen, the leaves feel sticky, and that column never seems to stop, moving up one side of the cane and down the other, hour after hour, all summer long. For as long as anyone can remember, you have been told the same thing. The ants are eating your roses. But what if those ants have never taken a single bite of that plant? What if they are not there to feed on your flowers at all, but to guard something else that is? Stay with me, because what is happening on that stem is one of the strangest arrangements in the natural world, and it has been running far longer than farming itself. Before we talk about the ants, we need to talk about who is actually feeding on your roses. Aphids. Go and look at the underside of a leaf, or the tight cluster just beneath an unopened bud. They are small, soft, pear-shaped, usually green, though they can be black, pink, or almost translucent. Each one has a mouthpart like a hypodermic needle, and it pushes that needle through the surface of the stem until it reaches the plant's plumbing, the vessels carrying sugar up from the leaves. Then it drinks. And here is what makes them almost impossible to beat. In summer, aphids do not bother with males at all. Females give birth to live daughters, already developing, already carrying the next generation inside them before they are even born. A newborn aphid can be a mother in about a week. A dozen becomes hundreds in a fortnight. That curled leaf, that deformed bud, that stem that never opened, that was them. So where do the ants come in? They come in because of the sticky film on your leaves. That film is not sap leaking from a wound. It is honeydew, and it comes out of the aphids. There is far more sugar in plant sap than an aphid can use, so it passes straight through and out the other end as something close to pure sugar water. To you, it is a mess that turns black with mold. To an ant, it is the richest food source on your entire property. And the ants do not wait for it to fall. An ant will walk up to an aphid, reach out with its antenna, and stroke it gently, rhythmically, along the back and the sides. The aphid responds to that touch by producing a droplet on demand. The ant takes it and moves to the next one, down the line, one after another. Now here is the detail that tells you this is not just an insect taking advantage of a spill. Aphids with no ants attending them flick their honeydew away, hard, because a puddle of sugar underneath them will grow mold and kill them. Aphids that are tended by ants do the opposite. They hold the droplet, they wait. The animal has changed its behavior for the farmer. That is not scavenging. That is a transaction. And once you see it that way, 3 things you have been told about ants fall apart. Myth number 1, ants are eating your roses. They are not, and they physically cannot. An ant has chewing jaws built for carrying and cutting soft prey, not for piercing plant tissue and drinking sap. Nothing about a rose stem is food to an ant. Every bit of damage you have been blaming on them was done by the insects they are standing over. Myth number 2, ants open flower buds. This is the oldest garden myth there is, usually told about peonies. Ants swarm a tight bud, the bud opens a few days later, and the conclusion writes itself. But peonies grown with every ant excluded open exactly on schedule. The ants are there for nectar the plant makes on the outside of the bud, a small bribe offered by the flower itself. They are not the reason it opens. They just happen to be there when it does. Myth number 3, and this is the one that costs people entire seasons. Kill the ants and you solve the aphids. Think about what actually happens when you spray. That spray does not know the difference between an ant and a ladybug. It does not know the difference between an ant and a lacewing larva, or a hoverfly larva, or the parasitic wasp that was already hunting its way up that stem. Every one of them dies with the ants. And the aphids? The aphids are on the undersides of leaves, tucked into folds, packed into the tightest part of the bud where the spray never reaches. Some always survive, and what survives can double in a week. while the predators you just erased take a month to come back. That is why the aphids return worse. You did not remove the problem. You removed the solution and left the problem standing. Before we go further, if this is already changing how you look at that line of ants on your stems, hit that subscribe button right now. We cover the hidden science behind everyday nature every single week. And drop a comment below. Have you ever sprayed a rose bush and watched the aphids come back thicker a week later? Tell me. Now let's talk about what those ants are actually doing up there, because it goes far beyond collecting. A single adult ladybug can eat around 50 aphids in a day. Its larva, a small spiky black and orange thing that looks nothing like the beetle it becomes, can eat several hundred before it pupates. On an unguarded plant, that is a massacre. On a guarded one, the ladybug never gets close. The ants rush it, bite at its legs, get underneath it, and lever it off the leaf. Larvae get seized outright, carried to the edge of the stem and dropped. The ants are not defending territory. They are defending stock. Then there are the wasps, and this is where it gets genuinely strange. There is a family of tiny parasitic wasps that hunt aphids and nothing else. The wasp lands, curls her abdomen forward, and lays a single egg inside a living aphid in under a second. The aphid keeps feeding, keeps walking, behaves completely normally while the larva grows inside it. Then it stops, swells, hardens, and turns a dull bronze. What comes out of it weeks later is not an aphid. So go and look at your rosebush after this. If you find one aphid among the green ones that is swollen, bronze, and completely still, that is not a dead aphid. That is a wasp about to hatch. And on a stem, the ants are guarding. They intercept those wasps in mid-approach and drive them off before they ever land. And then there is the part that stops being protection and becomes something else entirely. Ants move their aphids. When a stem hardens or dries and the sap stops running well, workers pick the aphids up, one at a time, in their jaws, and carry them to fresh growth. Livestock walked between pastures. When aphids get crowded, some of them grow wings so they can leave and start a colony elsewhere. On an ant-tended plant, workers have been recorded chewing those wings off, and as ants walk, they leave chemical traces on the leaf surface, traces that slow the aphids down and keep them from wandering. Fed, defended, relocated, and prevented from leaving. Let that sit for a second. That is not a partnership. That is a herd. And it goes deeper than a single summer. There are aphid species that live on plant roots, tended by common lawn ants. In autumn, those ants collect the aphid eggs and carry them down into their own nest. They keep them underground all winter, protected from the frost, in the same chambers where they keep their own brood. And in spring, when the roots start running with sap again, the workers pick up the newly hatched aphids, carry them back to the surface, and place them on the plants. Stock brought into the barn for winter. Stock walked back out to pasture in spring, done by an insect the size of a grain of rice. Here is what nobody tells you. Humans domesticated our first animals somewhere around 10,000 years ago. Ants and aphids have been found preserved together in amber from tens of millions of years ago. By the time the first person ever put a rope on an animal, the system running on your rose stem had already been going, essentially unchanged, for longer than our species has existed. So what should you actually do about it? If the aphids are heavy, take a hose and knock them off with a hard jet of water. Most of them cannot climb back. Do that every few days and the colony collapses on its own. If you want to break the partnership itself, block it at the ground. A sticky band around the base of the cane stops the ants reaching the herd without killing anything, and the ladybugs and the wasps usually find their way in within days once the guards are gone. And whatever you do, learn what a ladybug larva looks like before you touch anything on that plant. People kill them constantly because they look like pests, and every one you crush is several hundred aphids you have just agreed to keep. Here is the thing worth sitting with. The ants were the visible ones. They were the ones moving, the ones in a line, the ones easy to see and easy to blame. The aphids sat still on the underside of a leaf, the same color as the leaf, and never drew a single glance. We have spent generations spraying the thing we could see and leaving the thing that was actually doing the damage completely untouched. So the next time you find that column climbing your rose stems, look closer before you reach for the can. Follow it up. Turn the leaf over. The ants were never the infestation. They were the announcement of one. If this changed the way you look at something you walk past every day, subscribe, because that is exactly what this channel is about. The hidden truth behind the things you have been looking at your whole life without ever really seeing them. And drop a comment right now. What else in your garden do you think we have been blaming for the wrong thing? I read every single one.